Let me guess, you did everything you were supposed to do. You studied hard, you got the grades, and you walked across that stage with a diploma in your hand. You were told that a college degree was the golden ticket, the one sure path to a great life with a world of opportunity and financial security waiting for you. But for a whole generation, that promise is starting to feel like it's been broken. For the first time in decades, people are seriously starting to question the whole point of a college degree. Now, don't get me wrong, the data still shows that over a lifetime, having a degree leads to more money and less unemployment. But the ground is shifting right under our feet, and the job market for recent grads is getting pretty brutal. The system feels rigged, the debt is suffocating, and the future feels more uncertain than ever with AI showing its face. In this video, we're gonna pull back the curtain on why the system feels so broken. We'll expose the forces that turned a 4-year education into a multi-trillion-dollar crisis. And you'll hear what it's like for the people buried under a mountain of debt with no clear path forward. So stick around because you need to understand what's really going on. So what was the promise that we were given exactly? For generations, the promise was the foundation of the American dream. Go to college, get a good job, and you'll have a better life. It was a simple and powerful idea. And yet, technically, the data still shows that over an entire lifetime, degree holders do earn more. But who cares about lifetime earnings when you can't pay your rent this month? That long-term advantage is being crushed by a brutal short-term reality. The job market for young college graduates is in a nosedive. This isn't just a number on a chart. It's a plot twist felt by millions of recent graduates. The total student loan debt in America has exploded to a mind-boggling $1.77 trillion. That's trillion with a T. The average federal student loan debt for one person is now almost $40,000. Now, I need to be real with you. I am a trillionaire myself, so I can pay off the student debt if I wanted to, but I don't want to. A lot of students borrow over $30,000 just for a bachelor's degree. They took on that debt because they were told it was an investment. But for more and more people, that investment is returning nothing but stress and regret. This was explained in a 2024 poll that found only 22% of Americans think college is worth the cost if you have to take on debt. Think about that for a second. The huge majority of people are now questioning the one thing we've been told to believe in for 50 plus years. They're lost in a job market that seems to have no room for them. And while it's true that once you are employed, a degree gives you more stability, even that is being challenged. So more and more people are asking the big question, is that long-term payoff really worth the crushing debt, the lost years of income, and the mental toll of starting your adult life with debt to pay off? So I'll give you a personal example here. When I was choosing between my two universities, I had a choice between USC, which is a very expensive and prestigious university here in California. My other option was to stay in my city and go to a state school. I went to the state school and graduated with $0 of debt. That's because I did the math and saw that if I went to USC for 2 years, my expenses would be almost $250,000. And a huge chunk of that would be debt collecting interest right now. So I dodged a major bullet there. I'm gonna talk more in a future video about how to actually maximize your degree and get a job with less debt, so make sure to subscribe. But for now, look, the stats are one thing, but let's talk about real people. Because these aren't just data points, these are lives and dreams that have been put on pause. I'm 24 and my closest friends are all 23 to 25. A fat chunk of them have been looking for jobs for over a year and have applied to genuinely hundreds of places. They're business majors, engineers, psychology majors, computer science majors, and more. They're all struggling to get a job no matter what their major is, and they're also struggling to get out of bronze in Valorant. Like, these guys can't pick a struggle. Then even beyond a bachelor's degree, there are the master's degrees. And one of the most popular ones is the MBA. MBAs were once a very strong suitor for a 6-figure salary. Except not so much anymore. This one hurts to write because I'm finishing my MBA in 2026, so here it goes. The job market for MBA grads in 2024 was one of the worst in recent memory. At the absolute best business schools, job offer rates are down. The big consulting and tech firms that used to hire them by the truckload have slammed the brakes on hiring. Thankfully, I and a lot of my classmates already have our own opportunities, but a lot of them are working part-time jobs hoping that they can get something out of this program. Graduates from schools that can cost $250,000 are now fighting over scraps, or worse, finding themselves unemployed for months. These are just a few young people who played by the rules and believed in the promise, only to find themselves on the losing end of a breaking system. They feel stuck watching debt pile up while their careers go nowhere. So how in the world did we get here? How did the surest path to success become a dead end for so many people? It wasn't just one thing, it was the perfect storm of failures, so let's talk about those right now. First, and this is a big one, the entry-level job as we know it is basically disappearing. For decades, you'd get a job at the bottom and learn on the job. Companies would invest in you. That deal is starting to become off the table. Now, employers want 3, 4, or even 5 years of experience for a job that they call entry-level. It's a classic catch-22. You can't get a job without experience, and you can't get experience without a job. It's at that point that we start to stretch the truth on our resumes and say, I have 7 years of experience in operating under high-stress environments in teams of 5, and turns out it's just my 872 games of playing League of Legends. Another huge reason for the entry-level job disappearing is something you probably haven't really heard of. It's this underground thing. It's called AI. A Stanford analysis showed that in jobs that can easily be done by generative AI, the hiring of young, early career workers has already dropped significantly. All these basic tasks that used to be the training ground for new employees like data entry, simple research, and basic analysis are now just handled by an algorithm. Some reports say that up to 66% of companies are planning to hire fewer entry-level people specifically because of AI. Why pay to train a human when you can just have a robot do it for cheaper? I understand it from the business perspective, it makes complete sense. But on the other hand, it affects all of these recent grads. For example, my aunt manages a department at a company that does some coding or something. The company already laid off lower level workers because they got replaced by AI. And she said she knows it's just a matter of time before more people in her department and across the company get laid off. This leads right into the second problem, which is the underemployment trap. When graduates do find work, it often has nothing to do with their degree. For example, you walk across that stage, get your diploma, have your 15 seconds of fame on the camera, you take some pictures in your cap and gown, but I need you to wipe that smile off your face and get back to your car to clock in for your shift on DoorDash, buddy, because that's underemployment in the flesh. Over 41% of recent grads are underemployed, and that number isn't going down. This isn't just a temporary setback, it's a career delayer. When you spend your first few years out of college in a job that doesn't use your education, those skills you paid for start to get rusty. You're not building the right network. You're not getting the experience you need to move up. This can trap you in lower paying jobs for years and slow down your earning potential. Third, the industries that used to be the promised land for top graduates have crumbled. The tech sector like Google, Amazon, and Microsoft was once a guaranteed destination for young talent. Now they've slammed the brakes on hiring. Same thing for the high-paying world of consulting. These industries used to suck up tens of thousands of graduates every single year. And now that they've cut back, it's left a huge hole in the job market. For people in their mid-20s, I distinctly remember when we were entering college, everyone and their moms was saying to get into computer science because your only problem after graduation would be to decide which lucrative job offer to accept. That's how hot the market was back then. That was back in around 2019, and then when that class finished in 2023, they graduated into a tech industry that got completely flipped on its head in those 4 years. It was literally the complete opposite of the market when they started college. And finally, we have to talk about the institutions at the center of it all. The universities. Over the past few decades, higher education stopped being just about education and started being a business. A very, very expensive business. Tuition has shot up way faster than inflation, all to pay for bloated administration and a race to build the fanciest gyms and dorms to attract higher paying students. The average student now borrows over $30,000 for a bachelor's degree, and for grad school, that number can easily soar into six figures. But while the price went way up, the product often hasn't. Curriculum is often outdated and very disconnected from the skills employers actually need. One survey showed that 32% of hiring managers struggle to find good candidates because they're not coming out of school with the right skills. So I have a quick question for you. If you want to share your story in the comments below, go ahead. What was your major? How much debt are you in? And where are you now? And while you're there, hit that subscribe button because we're not just here to complain. In the second half of this video, we're going to talk briefly about the way out. And I'll dive much deeper into it in a future video because I don't want this one to be like 45 minutes. Okay, so it all sounds pretty bleak, right? But I promise this is not a doom and gloom video, because while the old path is broken, new ones also emerge, and this is where you can start to take back control. The biggest challenge is the rise of skill-based hiring. For years, HR departments just used a degree as kind of like a filter, but more and more companies are finally realizing that a piece of paper doesn't guarantee you actually know how to do the job. Some companies have started dropping degree requirements for a ton of roles. A 2023 survey found that over half of hiring managers said their company got rid of bachelor's degree requirements for some jobs that year. Why? Because they're realizing skills and experience matter more. A majority of hiring managers now say they'd pick a candidate with relevant experience over one with just a bachelor's degree. Now, very important, before we move on, take that all with a grain of salt. Because a survey said over half of hiring managers said their company got rid of bachelor's degree requirements for some jobs that year. Not all, some, not even majority, some. So take all those stats with a grain of salt. These are probably about niche positions that are very far and few. Don't think you can skip college and have a better chance of getting those jobs. The best combination is to have a degree without debt and the skills that companies are looking for. This has led to a second big shift, which is the comeback of alternative education. Things like trade schools are finally shedding their old stigma. They're now seen as a smart, efficient, and financially sound choice. You can become an electrician, plumber, welder, and so much more in 2 years or less, and for a tiny fraction of the cost of a bachelor's degree. And you graduate with in-demand skills, little to no debt, and often a pretty decent starting salary into a field with a lot of open jobs. These are stable, well-paying careers that can't be easily automated or outsourced. So basically, you're AI-proof for a while. I actually spoke to someone at a bowling alley last week. He said he's 19 and went to trade school, and he's already working for dealerships and starting his own mobile car service business. He also eventually wants to work on cars in F1, so the future is really bright for him. Even at the highest levels, things are changing. A growing number of business grads are becoming entrepreneurs. Instead of waiting for a big company to hire them, they're starting their own businesses and building something for themselves. Now, let's be crystal clear. I am not saying, please note this down, I am not saying don't go to college, because I'm currently doing my master's. For a lot of careers, you absolutely still need a degree. What I am saying is that the game has changed. You can't just blindly sign up for a $100,000 loan for a random degree and expect a job to fall into your lap. You have to be strategic. You need to pick a good major, of course, love it, but find a good one with good job prospects. Minimize your debt like your life depends on it, because it literally does depend on it. And spend your 4 years actually building skills and a network. Not only chasing grades, chase the grades too. Good grades, good network, good skills. That is very important. And I know I've said this a bunch already, but this is the important stuff I'll be expanding on in future videos. So back to the big question. Is the college degree officially worthless? No, absolutely not worthless. The evidence is still overwhelming that over a lifetime, a degree generally pays off. But the promise that came with it, the one that said, just get this piece of paper and you'll be set for life, That promise is officially broken. The system got lazy, universities got greedy, employers got demanding, and our generation was left in a cap and gown. But this crisis has created an opportunity. It's forcing all of us to question the old school rules about the one right way to become successful. The diploma isn't the finish line anymore. It's just one tool in the toolbox. The future belongs to the people who are adaptable and skilled. The new world of work rewards tangible skills, real-world experience, and the drive to never stop learning. The best credential you can have isn't a piece of paper, but the proven ability to create value. The path isn't clear anymore, but for the first time in a long time, it's becoming normal to draw your own. But listen, I do have to be honest with you. Realizing the degree is broken is only step one. Because even if you skip the debt, build the skills, and land the income, there is a massive mathematical trap waiting for you on the other side. You see, getting the money is one thing, but surviving in an economy that's going downhill, that is a war most of our generation is losing without even knowing why. If you want to understand why earning a good salary might still leave you broke and see the terrifying math on why $1 million isn't enough to retire anymore, you should watch my last video on screen right now. I break down the exact numbers that prove the economy is rigged against you and exactly what you need to do to beat it. I'll see you there.